I'm making this video because I really want to just talk about the testimony that is on my heart. And I don't know, I just feel like it's for someone, but I know it's for me because I just been in this space of reevaluating a lot of things. So these past couple months, I mainly was on and off social media, but now I took a strict break of being off of social media. I was on Facebook for a little bit, but not as much as like Instagram and all my other social media platforms. I learned that like me taking a break from everything that I was doing, even removing myself from everything that I was doing, I had to rediscover what self-worth was for myself. Not only being at the height, quote unquote, height of my career, or height of something that I was really accomplishing, I started to see all the aspects of what I was getting myself into, and also the person that I was becoming. You know, I was running myself dry and not loving on myself as I wanted to and as I needed to, because I wanted to achieve all of these goals by a certain time. It was like getting on a hamster wheel consistently. And without resources, it would also make you feel like you are really aching your body away. I don't know. It was just something about me being on a hamster wheel of trying to achieve all these things without resources, and then also not knowing how to advocate for what I need. It made me become so resentful of everything that I've accomplished so far. And then also not only experiencing a death, but also experiencing other things that contribute to building a platform or building something, right? I think in the 20s, we always try to figure out who we want to be and who we want to become. And like, when you hit 25, you got to know what you want. But when you are in a space where everything is limited and you only seeing like, okay, this is the path that you got to be on. Like if you a poet, you got to be like this poet. But it's so much more. You kind of feel like you have to shrink. Like you know that it's so much more, but it's so much. But when you're the environment that you're in is so limited on what you can do. It makes you feel like you're so limited on what you can do. But now I'm really discovering that as I was working in the past, I was working 4 jobs, still trying to maintain presence in my career, still trying to make sure I invest in my poetry. I've just learned that being consistent and pacing myself is 2 different things of just being consistent. Because being consistent without having a platform, or being consistent with a platform or slowly building a platform on what you want to do, it really just, it helps you reevaluate what resources that you need to advocate for, but it also impacts your vision of where you're trying to go. And for me, I thought that I had to go, I still want to go back to education institutions, but everybody around me made me feel like I had to like go reinvest myself. Knowingly, I just needed to build the skills and have the resources to build on my skills. It's not about the people. I don't know. I didn't want to like do this victim stance on me on why I left, right? But I did want to be honest about how I was feeling. I did want to be honest about what was going on behind the scenes. I did want to be honest about what heartbreaks and things that I faced that made me become so distant and not feeling like I can't advocate for what I need. Because we are impacted by the tragedies in our life, and oftentimes we push that down because we don't want to experience that shame. We don't want to experience that, oh my gosh, like this happened to me and I feel like my world is coming down and I feel so vulnerable. It's the fact that we don't want to feel vulnerability. And for me, I was always preaching of like, oh, be vulnerable, be this, be that. And which in the past I was, but I realized that had bit me in my butt. But it made me become more shameful of where I was at in my life. It made me become more isolated, more alone when I was not able to, when I suppressed my vulnerability and I put shame on top of it. And I'm really just making this rant because I knew that I was destined for something. I always believe that I'm destined for something. That's not a thing that I am like not that's not a thing. That's not a thought that is leaving my mind. It's just that when you feel like everything is tumbling down, it can make you feel like you are tumbling with it. And it's not that I went through my downhills. I definitely did. And I definitely was private about it because I had to keep it between me, divine, and my journal. And I think that I'm going to keep it that way. Is that I knew that this was challenging me to speak up. This was challenging me to speak up of who I wanted to become and take control of my narrative and take my power back. I might not have all the resources in the world at my hands. And I know that creating from the ground up can make you feel really scary, really, but I know I'm capable of doing it. I just know in a matter of time, I'm going to be looking back at this video and I'll be like, I'm glad I made it, because right now I'm grateful that I made it. I'm grateful that I feel so regulated in my body, because in the past I was working 4 jobs, still trying to maintain my career, still trying to be a poet, still trying to build my platform, still trying to be engaged with my community. And then having to deal with a personal tragedy in my life and still keep going, still had the momentum to keep going. Had a near-death experience, but I didn't want to let that pain or any of that having to be on a hamster wheel of trying to get everything that you want done or trying to really achieve something to block me from my true fulfillment. It's kind of me stepping off that hamster wheel and being like, wow, if somebody was in my shoes right now, they would have been like, how did she do it? How did she really make it the next day? How did she get out of bed after all of things that were thrown at her, everything that people have said about her? Like, how do they bounce back again? I realized that I was human in my own way, but I knew that who I was becoming was bigger than me. And I'm just making this video straight through. I wish that somebody told me that it was okay to feel what I was feeling. It was okay for me to feel these heavy feelings that I was feeling, because you would feel so isolated and alone. But when you have somebody to really pat you on the back and was like, I'm glad that you keep going, But at the same time, I know that it took a lot out of you. Like, but that's what it takes to be vulnerable, right? And really talk to people about what you're going through. But talk about it with the right people. Because if you don't build trust in the right way, people will like use your pain story against you, because that's the first thing you pour out your mouth. Oh, I've been through this, I've been through that. It really pushes people away when you just start off with your pain story. And I didn't want to do that. Even though I was experiencing extreme, I mean, everybody goes through pain, and I was like doubling it down, but I knew that my pain was kind of like, dang, how did this girl leave the house the next day thinking that everything was going to be fine? How did you continue to be optimistic? It just made me think about like, wow, I started becoming honest. And I think some spaces are important to help you be honest.